Hello, hello. How's it going? I got my chat in the wrong spot. There we go. There we go. How's it going, everybody? We got snow today. I am not prepared. Which is kind of painful to say because I had time to prepare and then, you don't. Oh well. I hope everybody had a good New Year. And the holidays, I guess. We skipped a couple weeks there partly for the holidays, and then getting back into things. It was easier just to push it off a week. But we are back. Today, I kind of want to go through the window controls in Tauri. There was a library that popped up. It's like September of last year, something like that. September, October last year. That was attempting to recreate sort of the each OS specific window handles in the web view. So the idea is that you could turn off window decorations. I presume the idea is that you can turn off the window decorations and then you can use this. I feel like my sound is loud. Is it just me? Let's turn that down just a tad. That'd be fine. So the idea is that you turn off the window decorations and then you use this instead, and you still are able to do the same actions by clicking on like HTML elements within your web view, so that your web view and the Chrome that is around it ends up disappearing. Well, the Chrome around it disappears and your web view ends up handling that, and it gives you a little bit more control over the style, but there is also some reasoning to keep the OS specific styles, or at least some of them. So this library that I wanted to poke around with is looking to do that. So we'll take a look at how it works and how it implements it. It looks like it's just V2 only, which is definitely a consideration. But I assume it's very similar to how we've wired up other window actions before. We grab the Tauri API, and by clicking a button, you execute the action, which the Rust side of things ends up handling for you. So I think we'll poke around with that. It sounded like there might be an update to V2 that is breaking something. So if it's something easy to fix, maybe we take a look at that real quick. Let's go ahead and hop on over. Right. Well, my desk is all sort of wonky here. This is what we were working on last time. I'm move my windows around. I don't know if I like this. This is what we looked at last time. We basically did a stream where I put these keycaps on, and what we talked about, what are the stream plans for this year. So check out the last stream if you're interested in that. But close. We want to look at, I presume we can just search for it. Tauri window controls. I like this. That's nice. So here you go. The top one. Oh, they got the symbols on the side, which help. Windows, Mac. What's that foot? I don't think I've seen that foot before. I was assuming that was Linux, but so like this is important too. There's there's these type of controls which I feel like I never use maximize on Windows, but I use it a lot on Mac. So having to code this into every app is sort of not my ideal use of time. There is probably situations where it's going to make sense to do something like this, sort of a bespoke version in your app, and that's okay. Man, I feel like all of my stuff is just shifted around. That's what you get when you take vacation, I guess. So, this is publishing. The apps is the packages that it's publishing. So this is just a workspace file. Looks like they're using change set. But within each of these, okay, so they have a what are they publishing? Files, nope. Files dist. So they're publishing the dist directory. So they're building. Okay, so I think this src Tauri. Tauri dev. I think this is purely JavaScript. So we can grab it via npm. But they also have src Tauri in here, which is basically like a bootstrapped app. So I think we can just grab this not directory, this code base, and just run it directly. Give it a peek, see. Move things around a little bit here. As always, do it live. Doing it live. Okay. I just noticed my chat's not loading. Why are you not loading? Why are you doing this to me? Okay, it's not Proud Chat. It must. The overlay? Oh, it's the overlay. Okay. I don't understand why the overlay is just sometimes not working. I think we had this happen in the recent past. Okay. Oh, whatever. I am gonna just turn their alerts off for the moment. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay. Let's grab this code. And we're going to do make directory agmmmn. Oh, what computer am I on? Do I have the right? Nope. It was in Mac mode. There we go. Yes. And let's see what they're using. They appear to be using PNMP. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I got PNMP. Hmm. I feel like, didn't we install this on stream at one point? Volta. Also, I got a spot. I got a floaty orb. There we go. Lighting was just a tad on the bright side. Volta list. Also, I'm in the way. That's annoying. I need to figure out something. I'm over the top of it, which bugs me. What do I put here then? Feels so empty. Feels so empty, space. Code. And PNMP. Okay, so I think we can do Volta install PNMP. I believe that works now. And I should be in the latest Volta as far as I'm aware. But I feel like I've done that before, and I don't think Volta handles it very well. Okay, so PNMP install. Yeah. So that's sort of the first indication that we might need to deal with something here before we can really poke around. Because we have a no matching version. Alpha, what? So why would it have a more recent alpha? That feels odd. Let's go look at npm. .com/package/add Tauri apps/API. Curious. I'm not sure why. There is no 13. Or there's no 16. I don't think we yanked it. That would be really far into the future to have yanked it. Or for it to be an issue with yanking. I doubt I'm actually gonna like use every one of these, but I just would prefer that they are consistent just in case. Is the CLI also 14 is the latest? Is the latest for the CLI. So this we might end up just fixing things here. Yeah, we are just going to search 20. I think I changed the wrong ones before. Yes, I did. 20. And we are going to do API 13, 13, 13, 16. Okay. No cache. It seems PNMP is pretty good about handling and dealing with cache, which is nice. But I've got a bit to download added. Oh, I just worked it. Well. Okay. I can't tell if it exited or if it just is reflowing. So what we're gonna do, fine, I'll just reload this because that's gonna bug me. So we've made changes to the package JSONs and then the lock. We want to, I think we look at the React, which I believe is just Tauri controls. This feels very React-like. I suppose I could just open it and look, yeah, React. So I think we go into this directory. There isn't like a contributing or anything like that. I do appreciate the to-dos. Makes sense. Makes sense. Oh, okay. So the being able to hide it conditionally seems to be partly determined or partly dependent on detecting the window controls. So, and like, that's the thing, like, even if this doesn't have all of these things implemented, it's kind of nice not having to, I mean, theoretically the work is shared. So if, you know, as long as you're, as long as you're not just working on somebody else's repo and you're the only one working on it, theoretically it's shared. Do we have Tauri? We do. I'm not sure what the difference between Tauri and Tauri Dev is. I'm guessing Tauri is just so we can like we could do that. Okay. An error occurred while parsing. We're getting builds, but we did have a module not found error. And that's kind of weird. Oh, you know, so like first issue, PNMP, PNPM. I'm gonna screw that up a lot. All those N's and M's together just. My brain does not parse that very well. Okay, so we're just gonna do pnm pnpm run Tauri dev. Oof. Okay, there we go. Nah, same issue. All right. Can I find module SvelteKit TS config? Oh. I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I don't know, we'll see. give this a minute to build, and here we go. Okay. Can I drag on these? Can I drag on these? There's nothing I have drag on it. Oh, that's kind of annoying. That's one way to move it. Okay. Just resize it. Awkward. Okay, so we got the controls, and is that Linux? Is that really what Linux looks like? So like these are effectively the options, I guess. Toggle theme. That's kind of right. Ton of content. Mac OS, but on the right side. Oh, cursed. Is that why they made them red? Okay, so we're definitely not getting events. And I'm assuming we're supposed to be. Cannot read properties, undefined reading invoke. So if we look at the source, it is so this I'm presuming is just an app so you can view it. It is pulling in these. I'm presuming I haven't looked, but I am under the presumption that when it runs and publishes, it's publishing these. So I'm going through and just checking out the imports. I don't see anything that Tauri apps plugin OS. And it's listed as a peer dependency. Okay. Potentially. Potentially the issue. I'm gonna guess it's not, but I think I'm gonna bump it anyways. If we open up a PR, I wouldn't open it up doing all of these things. I probably would open up separate PRs bumping stuff. Okay. Ooh, I like that dependency upgrade. I don't get to use PNMP very often, but I do appreciate the experience, and I can see why people have a pretty strong preference for it. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to move. Move view, and the move view, and open up this. Okay, so we're still getting an issue with invoke. Not surprised. So we have button, icons. So this is, I want to make sure I didn't kick my cat. This is, we are pulling in the Tauri Apps API here. And the error that we're getting, cannot read properties of undefined reading invoke. So it is expecting invoke. It is possible that we have an issue in here somewhere, but we don't have an invoke in here at all. So I'm gonna assume that we want to instead be looking in here somewhere. Not saying invoke anywhere. Interesting. Yeah, let's search here and look for invoke. Nothing. So one of the things is that's gonna give us a little bit issue with this is that everything kind of invoke is a very low level implementation. And everything is building on top of invoke. So to get an invoke error, okay, here we can see here. Plugin OS, plugin window. So at least we have a little bit of an indication on where it is coming from. So the invoke error is coming from plugin OS. So we'll have to go look at that. Cannot read properties of undefined reading metadata. And that's the window plugin. Which we had an issue here, or we have an import here rather. Both of these are types of type import, tailwind merge. Another type. So context plugin window, but this is also a type. We don't have like a shared components or anything, do we? Packages, gsconfig, prettier config. Okay, well, I don't see anything in here that we might want to come back to this, but that wouldn't be the thing that is actually throwing the error. So it's got to be the an unfortunate thing would be if it was actually an issue upstream. But all I'm seeing is types. This is a type window. Okay, so if we're doing an import, it's going to be Tauri apps /API. Guessing everything would show up in That's annoying. So this is module window.getCurrent. I'm presuming that that's our issue here. It's dynamically loading it. So this is Windows non-defined. When you are building a front-end app So a single page app, SPA, or static site generated type of website, you are expecting to run client-side code and run it. And when you run it, you run in the context of a browser in which you have the window object. That gets complicated once you start trying to do server rendering, or like in the static site generation side of things, you can't use that at the build time. So when you're doing the static generation, you can't be accessing window. You can only access it once the client is hydrated. So if your static site generator is just spitting out HTML and CSS, you potentially, without some finagling, you won't be able to use the window object. And that's kind of that's part of what they're doing here. So they are, if we would run a build on this, we want to effectively no op if window is not defined. So if we're in a context in which window is not defined, then just skip loading this. And what we're doing is we're saving the app window into state, and it's doing a module.window get current. So cannot read properties of undefined, reading metadata. All right, let's take a peek at is it next? Beta? Can never remember. Yeah, beta. Because we want the V2 docs. And if you go to the beta site, you are on the pre-release site for Tauri 2.0. So I don't know if it was always the intention, but it's gotten to the point where effectively the intent is to ship the new site with V2. I think that's what's going to end up happening. Or potentially a little bit before V2 in preparation for like when V2 comes. Okay, so where are we looking? We want the API guide, I guess, because we want to look at the window. API window. So, JavaScript API and API. Fortunately, I lost my menu on the side here, but ooh, somebody made an article for deep linking. Oh, stub. Deep linking is not easy. It's been getting better, or at least the implementation within Tauri. But okay, so we would have a. Can we just do this? Plugin window. Okay, so now we're getting that invoke error. It's different. It is different. Was the plugin OS not updated? So okay, we are importing it. What? This feels... We're just inputting a type here. So the intent here is that we get this function get OS type. The okay. So originally I thought it was just the type. So TypeScript type OS type. That's and it is doing an import and then taking that module that's imported, calling one of the functions, and then setting the value. Interesting. So it seems like it's more than just the actual type itself. I think the full API is in here now. So if we would go to references and JavaScript API, and do we have a plugin OS here? We have a plugin Windows state, plugin OS. So we have a couple functions. There is end of line, architecture, exe extension, family, hostname, locale, platform, type. So here's our type. Type is async. We are calling .type. Okay, so cannot read properties. I'm going to find reading invoked. Reading invoke. So within the plugin OS, we're getting the error. So if we would look at there we go, plugin OS. So core, we are requiring the core, and then we're calling core. And that I think that is correct. Clearly we're getting an error though. Let's PMI. Nope. Golly. So if we look at there, I think there is a way to look at what's installed. So let's do a PNMP outdated. Okay, none of those are related. That's fine. Print all the versions of package that we have installed. PNMP list add Tauri apps. Does list have a pattern? Eek. Okay. Depth. Change the directory. filter includes all packages that are under the current working directory. So we can do filter. Includes all direct and indirect dependents of match packages. So do we literally do filter ... I can't tell if there's a space there or not. It looks like there's not. 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's my issue. Which I guess makes sense. No projects match the filters. Oh, we want to look at dependencies though. So does that mean we need to do this? There's a note about Windows where we need to potentially double things up, I think. We are running in the shell is new shell though. So just because we're running in Windows at the moment does not necessarily mean that we're going to have issues with the same Windows type of syntax. So filter space ... caret, and then the pattern. So if we do something like ... foo, we should then be searching that directory. May be used with ... to select dependents. Okay. So if we just do ... unsupported package selector. So ... would be dependencies of the root, because it's a folder specific thing. We don't. We search for plugin. Yeah, okay. So we search for plugin OS. We do only have it in one spot. Okay. So the intent here is that I want to make sure that we are not. Oh. Is it a symbol thing? Is it not like in the symbols? Okay. Okay, that's more. I'm fine just dealing with this, not for now. Okay, we got API 13, OS 6. I'm not sure why it's giving us all the dev dependencies, but oh, it's just giving us like everything. API 13, OS 6, OS 6, OS 6, API 13. I don't. Okay. Oh, and 20. CLI 20. What's the coloring again? Dependency dev only. What's interesting is this is listed as a production dependency, but it's in the dev dependencies. I don't quite understand that. So plugin, it seems like we all have it seems like we have a consistent version. So that's something. If we take a peek at our error again, we are getting, it appears that we resolved one of the issues. Sure. Not sure what the default one's gonna run, but what? Is this like a weird rave? What is going on? Oh my goodness. I mean, it seems to be tracking fine. Whoop, that's not what I meant to do. Did I mean, you all were seeing that, right? My camera just went. Whoa, there it goes again. Anytime it's compiling, it does that. Does it have a higher priority? High. Change. It must have changed the switch. Was it doing that before? I don't even know if it was doing that before. Okay, so it's definitely okay, well, I don't remember the pnp workspace command offhand. What is that? There is recursive run review dependencies update prune. PNP run each. So command args, parallel recursive. Okay, so if we do run Tauri dev, filter, and a directory would be app/Tauri controls. There, so let me run it from the root. Oh, okay, all right, fun. There we go. So this is using Turbo as well, which is fine. I mean, okay. I guess we'll see if we get some recording like that again. It I guess I did say that I missed some frames. It's wild that it just affected my camera like that so much though. The Elgato Camlink driver must just have choked. Okay. Invalid target triple. Okay. So if we look here and we look here, so we're getting the invoke error. We are still getting cannot read properties of undefined or reading metadata. So there's a get current. Get current. Get an instance of window for the current window. Cannot read properties of undefined reading. Oh, yeah, reading metadata. And that would be in window 85. Tauri controls. Is this in? So, get current. Get an instance of window for the current window. So this doesn't seem to be actually related to. This seems to be as part of the updates. So something upstream in Tauri v2, one of the alpha versions, seems to potentially have changed something here. Tauri app. No, Tauri. Wait. Tooling. That's what I want. Source. Hey Rohit. How are you doing? Good to see you. Okay, so in the what's on the main, there is still a window.tauri internals metadata current window.label. So when we call module.getCurrent, it is throwing an error effectively upstream. Like it's not specifically in the app anywhere. This is symlinked. Which definitely has me curious. Okay, so I feel like my brain is going slow today. Could have not been sleeping great. I can't complain though. I mean, they're littles. I signed up for it. Sleep is important, though. It is very important. So we're calling invoke to everything. It is entirely possible that we missed. That something got overlooked. Okay, we've got a Tauri apps API. See, the plugin OS is also some linked, which just feels weird. We are specifically getting an error though with metadata and then invoke. Maybe the thing to cannot read properties of undefined reading invoke. That is coming from plugin OS. So we are looking at Tauri apps, plugin OS. So it's trying to load it from core, right? Tauri internals. I didn't really expect this to be like a debug session. I don't hate it though. Tauri apps / Tauri. We are going to, oh boy, what are you doing? Get up. I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out at me. There is this. So window.tauri internals. Where is window.tauri internals getting set? Let's check on this first. I'm assuming that's going to be in here. Is that just on the, that's just on the window object, right? So if we would go to, I wonder if there's like a specific opt-in or something we need to do now. So like here we are console.log window. So we log out the window object. We would then be able to see fresh bunch of errors that makes sense. That's what we are seeing. We should also see this Tauri internals though. And we don't. So it's entirely possible. Are we in the middle of making changes here? Tauri internals. We were, yeah, like we're working through breaking changes, I think, with this. Now must initialize the window to Tauri internals post message function instead of this. So in our, I think there's an iffy one. It loads in an immediately invoked function. The immediately invoked function, is it IIF? Expression. Immediately invoked functionings. Wow. That. It's, I don't feel like you see it quite as common as you used to, but like this used to be the way, just like execute code when a page first loads. Basically define the function and immediately execute it. Okay, so it's defining a property, Tauri internals. Invoke. So if there's no window, Tauri define the property, but it removed that. Is there anything actually defining Tauri internals now? So init define property. So where is it defined now? Tauri pattern. Okay, so we have a global. And to be clear, this is TypeScript file. So we are defining a global for TypeScript only. Path. So we are importing invoke from primitives. So I will. Is it expected to be defined? I think that's the question that I've got right now. There is also a config value. There's a config value that takes the internal and lifts it into an external. So there's like a default embedded internal API that's, private. And that appears to be, we're expecting that to be there, and it seems that it might not be anymore. Tauri runtime? No, this is all Rust. Ixnay and the music A. There we go. Okay. So why would internal not be set? Hey Chris. Good to see you. Started late. Did you also start late? did not sleep good, and I couldn't get to sleep last night, and it snowed this morning. So I was like, yep, it's fine. We'll start a little bit later. Running around like a headless chicken today. Oh no. Hopefully for good reasons. If not, hopefully you get a nap later. that's the I feel like that does that make me old. I told one of my kiddos this past week that one of my favorite games to play is the game where I have to take a nap. Just looking for that nap later. Yeah. Okay, so we have this expectation that Tauri internals is defined. It appears to not be defined. And it seems related. I don't think we yanked anything. I'm not seeing anything in the actual... Okay, I think we need to figure out where it's being defined. I'm pretty certain there's an iffy around here somewhere that defines it, and the PRs that we were looking at just did not touch it. Can I search? I might have to actually log in. Oh. Wait, I might be able to search for this. Okay. Wait, what? Invoke as a Tauri API, so it is only available in Tauri window. You can't use it in a browser. I've got questions. Can you drop the window plugin? It is now part of the general API npm package again. Okay. So it's in there now. Fair. And that Tauri apps API window. I think that's what it's using, isn't it? Tauri apps API window. Okay. Let me double check. I think I can, yeah, okay, great. I didn't want to, I had stuff open and I didn't want to share it. So somebody had actually just mentioned that they were having issues in the latest with this plugin. And I want to see if, in the Tauri Discord to be clear, okay, so they're seeing errors with window Tauri invoke is not a function. So there's definitely like some things being moved around which is causing this issue. I think it was pretty recent. what's the OS? Well, it's not only in the OS plugin. That's what's interesting. We're getting a lot of them in the OS plugin. Well, most of them are. Let's just double check to make sure. 50. Cool. I don't see anything in here that is pointing to I don't think you see anything specifically pointing to this. So it's weird that we're importing from here and then calling set window to get the current. If we just don't worry about the current window right now, let's just see if we can get a build that doesn't throw errors. It's probably not going to work, but one step at a time. And it might actually be useful to have some error handling there too. So in this, it is trying to do an import here. If we comment that out, it should give us. Okay. It is specifically those two module load. When we load the module and then try to execute the function directly, we are running into this issue. So the Tauri APIs that are embedded, at least in this instance, is As I say that, I mean, we're on all the alphas, right? So we should but apps Tauri controls was a cargo upgrade. We want the latest. So like we might need that lock file bumped. I presume it's probably going to be fine to get the latest versions of Saturday, but we want all the other Tauri things updated as well. So if when the web view loads, we've got an iffy that's setting this API and it's just not getting, or it's changed how it's set because we have a lock file for an old thing. That might be part of why we're seeing an error, but also an error that is different than what somebody else has reported actually. Is it cargo upgrade? I think so. Ironic that again, this is kind of funny that it went from this is kind of cool, let's check it out. And I mean, it looks cool. Like we get the controls, we saw the controls, that's nifty. But none of the actual controls work. Moving, adding, updating. Old requirement compatible. Latest. New requirement. Did it actually change these? Yes. I'm not sure if like I think that would have worked, right? So that is compatible, sure. And that's the latest. Okay. The fact that it updated the text is feels a little bit awkward to me. I think I could have been okay with just leaving it as without the dot. If that is fine, but I guess we'll do the workspace thing again. So we'll see if this gives us a different, because we've updated our lock file now. We'll get a new compile. And it seems my camera's not flipping out, which is good. I went rainbow puke-ish before when we were doing a compile. Everybody loves a good rainbow puke. Yeah, it was like glitch rave. You know, I would have been happy if it was the shader I was making. If I could do that on command. I wish there was a drag region on here. Not being able to drag this is kind of annoying, but you know, whoop, no, not that. Oh, can I not drag it now? Finished. Oh. Oh. Ooh, there was a drag region. Was there a drag region down here? Is it just extremely small? Okay, well, whatever. I kind of just want to look here. Oh, okay. Failed to load resource. The server responded with status. Okay. All of that moved to Tauri internals. Good. So, if somebody's getting this error, like, okay, if we go maximize, do we get in? Oh, wait. This. Need this. It is still slightly changed from what it was before, so I might need to undo that. So let's go ahead and get a recompile in. We weren't loading the window API before, so man, not having a drag region is really this is really kind of annoying. Hey, there we go. Minimize, maximize. Okay, and all of these work. It's a little bit awkward because hey, and the drag regions work. Sweet. I don't know that I actually did anything that changed any of this. So we can get rid of this. This might still be something that we need to change. We're gonna probably want to bump the lock file for all of these, and I think it might make sense to just because so this is a package that somebody made that is dependent on alphas, I don't see any reason to continue to bump to the latest alphas, because if people are bumping, I mean, that's probably going to be the way that you end up handling it. Let's try. Yeah, okay, fine. Just discard changes. Okay. So if we take that off, are we getting any errors? No. Versions. So I think what is the situation here? I'm going to roll these back to the alphas. I'm going to do the same. Apps. Oop. So we need to do Tauri controls solid. This is kind of a bummer, but. And we are going to do cargo upgrade. And we're just going to run this on all of them. Should go a little bit quicker now because our index is up to date. I don't know of a faster way to do this though. Tauri controls svelte. Cargo upgrade. Like, I just want the lock file bumped. So in this case, it is specifically a lock file bump, and the thing that we're publishing will need to, if I have a suspicion that somebody using this is going to be pulling in this package. They are getting Tauri apps API. I'm not terribly keen on having pure dependencies. This is the insufficient APIs where it is actually a dependency, but also you could have any theoretically any patches would be fine too. So I suspect probably what you want to do is something like that. But see the problem, well, if the API changes at all, it would break it. So other than publishing a new one every time, it is potentially likely that you're going to have multiple versions of the API package, which isn't the best. So as much as I'm not a huge fan of the peer dependencies, I would almost say do we put that in? Would we recommend putting that in the peer dependencies? So this package needs it to run. And it needs potentially a subset of versions to be able to run. Alphas are potentially a little bit more, because versions and how the package managers handle alphas is not terribly, it's not the same as normal Summer non-pre-release versions. So within dependencies, you're specifically going to get this version of the API, but that API package is also dependent on sort of environment variables as well. So by just having that specific package, you're not, even if you pull in two versions of that package, you're not necessarily that API package is that API package is calling what are effectively like environment variables, which are always updating, or will update out of sync of from when you change that actual version. So I think you almost wanted this to stick with the version number. I think I would almost say move this into peer dependencies. I think that's what I would say. Okay, so we did Svelte. We've got one more. Tauri controls, view, cargo upgrade. Nope, source Tauri, cargo upgrade. Okay. And then I'm going to end up just going back to these, I guess. I'm going to have to... because the log files are going to contain those numbers too. I'm going to need to do like a cargo check or whatever to update the, like re-update the log file again, I think. I feel like there's a better way to do it, but I don't know one offhand. And by the time I figure it out, I can have just done this. Cargo check. So this should theoretically give us, and I mean we get all the things updated, and this is fine because it's sort of like an internal demo. But we're just gonna end up doing a whole bunch of compiles. I guess. Did we try the root command again? No, this is fine. We'll watch some compiles. Not a big deal. Fair. Okay, fine. We're gonna do it at the root. We'll see if we get the rainbow puke again. Let's go for it. So this will end up running the Tauri dev command in 4 different projects. We'll get potentially, oh, there we go. Yay, rainbow puke. This is ridiculous. And it's I wonder, I don't think it's like I've got OBS, like OBS seems to be running and I don't seem to be dropping frames. It is like specifically the Elgato drivers, I think. I'm getting occasional frame drops, like one every 10 or 20 seconds. But it's really not that bad. So that I feel like that's something with the Elgato drivers. I might want to like see if I can upgrade them or something. Okay, so we're getting a bunch of compiles. I think this should end up updating all of our cargo log files for each of the demo apps in each of the Tauri or window controls app folders. So we got one. We got controls. We got view. We've got Svelte. And we've got solid.js. Bam. So the thing that we were actually running into, to wrap it all up, we have in Tauri shifted around the like API packages and how those variables are injected, which required an update of both the npm or the I guess the JavaScript packages, but also the cargo crates. We have updated the cargo, and the cargo crates are only demo apps. So we were seeing errors just because of that. But if a user is running into this, they need to have an updated version of this package, because this package is pulling in each of the it's pulling in the API at a specific version number and using that. So even if the user updates everything, they're potentially still going to have two versions of this package kicking around. And two versions of those package kicking around means that when they click the window controls, it's going to be using the old version of the API. And that old version of the API is dependent on like environment specific items. And that's where the error is going to come from. Now, as far as like, how do you deal with that as the library maintainer? This kind of comes back to the whole peer dependencies. The intent was that peer dependencies was a way to sort of deal with this, where you opt in to, or you sort of like let the user know that they need this dependency, but we don't necessarily want to install a very specific dependency. We could put it as a peer dependency, but some package managers will by default just install peer dependencies, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But that's also sort of outside of the like expectation of peer dependencies in some ways. So I don't know that there's really a great answer here, unfortunately. In this case, this package has Tauri Apps API as a dependency. So when you install this package, you're in this case going to get a very specific version of it. And what's weird is it's a new version of it. No, I'm gonna actually reply in this thread. Okay. So this PR bumped it. And that was in, So this would have been, see, this is interesting. And like potentially a lesson in communication. To me, this is clear because I'm familiar. This version here, this is pointing to the Tauri RS, Tauri cargo package. You can see here, this we got a cargo publish. That is potentially the same but unrelated to the API package that's being published. So in reality, this PR, wherever it went here, the bump that occurred was taking it from alpha 8 to 16. And honestly, I think I probably would have said keep the carrot dependency here. So this really should have been something lower than 16, whatever the API was at that point. But after all these changes, and the latest publish, we're on .13. So there's, I mean, theoretically, if we wait 3 more version publishes, it's gonna work, which is sort of hilarious. But I suspect at least for the alpha, what we're gonna want is something that's a little bit more open. So if we go ahead and look at the npm, let's look at the Semver npm cheat sheet. Is that it? Hey John, did the 3D work? I think my alerts didn't work again. I think it's a little futzy. 3D thing might not work. I think the drop thing works, but I feel like every other stream the 3D text isn't working, and I haven't paid close enough attention to figure out why. This is maybe what I want. Where are the ranges? Where do they talk about ranges? We're getting into the lesson in dependencies and publishing packages and why it is so very difficult. Range. So very difficult to get right. And right is a very loose term because it's sort of ecosystem dependent, and what's right for one person might not actually. You sort of have like an established expectation with Semver, but everybody sort of internalizes their own. It's like house rules. You play Monopoly. You might play Monopoly different at other people's houses because they have their like own built-in house rules. It's just been around so long that sort of people establish their way of doing things and internalize it and just assume that like that is the actual rules, or they have a preference to it and don't follow the spec exactly. And you get enough of that going on and things can get very, very confusing. But even if you like try to follow the spec to the T, you know, that like, if everybody followed the spec exactly to the T, then maybe we would have less issues with this. But there's still like what constitutes a major versus a minor. You know, if it's a breaking change technically, but you know it doesn't break anybody, is it a breaking change? I don't know. Lots of discussions there. Where are the ranges? I can't find the ranges. I'm just scrolling and talking. Yeah, minor versions making breaking changes or patches. And like part of it is probably how do you keep track of what ends up being a breaking change? Like it's not always clear what a breaking change is. So like especially in the CommonJS to ESM switch, there's a lot of like little things where like or TypeScript. Every TypeScript so like TypeScript doesn't follow is it TypeScript doesn't follow Semver? Either way, every minor in TypeScript is a breaking change or has the potential to be a breaking change. And like types in React components or just components in general, those are a lot harder to not have breaking changes. So everybody like publishing something to npm kind of requires you to have something that looks Semver like, but that doesn't mean that everybody's actually following Semver. So, and then you get major breaking changes. So major versions, the intent is for breaking changes. And theoretically, when you publish a major, the ideal is that you don't break anybody, but that there's the potential for breaking changes. So theoretically, you could make the argument that a major version should not include any features. In which case, when you see a lot of these companies, or a lot of these open source things that are more company backed, tend to use major versions as sort of like an announcement type of thing, and include features. And then the actual like breaking changes part of it sort of ends up being belittled, and it's effectively just a glorified minor, which with a couple breaking changes shoved in there. I don't know. Yeah. It is where we're at. Okay, so the what we're looking for is the ranges. I think we fixed this. We can see the window controls. They're pretty nifty. They look like the real thing. Sufficient enough for me. I probably could see myself using this on a project. But all we needed to do is a version upgrade. So, coming all back around after all of the rants, the thing that we want to look at is they have a specific version specified as a dependency. Is that going to be the best use case during the alpha phase? And then is that going to be the best use case when Tauri publishes a major? And some of this is like no shade at the person that is working on this. They put a lot of effort into this, and you know, like I've said a bunch of times, this is not easy to get right. And big air quotes there. So some of this is just, if as an ecosystem we can provide recommendations on this is how you publish plugins with dependencies on these like core pieces. If there's some consistency there, at least within the ecosystem, I think that is beneficial. So all of that being said, ranges. We've got tildes and we've got carrots. I will want to see what it does for pre-releases. Okay, I'm not seeing. Okay, so Semver npm, or Semver npm, I think has some examples. Ranges. So okay, so we've got okay. This is kind of what I was looking for. Pre-releases in the 1.2.3 version will be allowed. Okay, so they've got. So if we would use a tilde, this is what we would end up getting. We would get anything from this version to basically anything like within this beta phase. This feels good. If we would go carrot, so if we would do something like this, we are going to get the same. So that makes sense. So basically, when we're on a pre-release, tilde and carrot work exactly the same. Oh, never mind. Okay. They don't. This would get us up to version 2. So if we did a caret, that would, we're currently in version 2 dash alpha something. If we did a caret range, that would get us any version up to basically v3. If we did beta 2, that would get us any version, that would get us into patches. So that would basically allow us to, it would potentially allow it to work through v2 into like 2.1. So anything less than 2.1. Right, because the minor is not being bumped. Okay, so just use lactose then. I mean, everything has this. The like it's effectively the same. You don't have peer dependencies when you look at cargo. You have dependencies and you have build dependencies and you have dev dependencies. But it's still the same. Like this is just this 1.0. Get it, Ash is only right. When you say version 1.0, you're effectively saying we want any of the patches. So that would be a tilde. So that would be the same as doing like 1.0.0 tilde. So like it's just a different syntax. You're not really getting the dependency upgrade semver thing in cargo is I don't think it's any different. I mean, feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't, strictly speaking, dependencies, dependency management only, and specifying specific version numbers and ranges. I don't think there's anything specifically to be gained by switching to Rust. Not saying that would, that's not a really... Okay, they're different. I believe you're right, and I can't remember the differences either. I think they're very subtle and small. Not that I would recommend making a switch between them strictly just for that. What is the difference? Okay. Definitely don't switch based on that. This. I vaguely recall this as well. So like, wrong way. I still haven't remembered that I switched it. Pointing in the wrong direction. I don't think it's a huge difference though. Anyways, digress. So, if we were to make a recommendation, pure dependency versus not specifying it at all. So the maintainer could list it as a requirement. That requirement would then So if it's listed as a dependency, it's going to be installed automatically. If it's listed as a pure dependency, it's potentially going to be installed automatically. The version that you specify is the version that you're going to get potentially in addition to the pre-existing one, depending on how the version ranges match up. If we list it as a pure dependency, it's potentially a little bit more indicative of the expectation, but I don't think that's really changing much. What's particularly special here is that even if we would list it as a dependency, which I think I'm tending to more, I think I'm leaning towards listing it as a dependency more, like in general, not just this use case. But what's interesting here is that that package that you're depending on is also dependent on like the version of Tauri in the cargo ecosystem that you have installed. So it's almost like your version of Tauri also needs to match up with their version of crates. So even if we specified a range, we're still going to get like, yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, pure depths went out of fashion. Everything's sort of decided to install it differently. I think that's kind of the reason why, I think this is the reason why I tend towards just recommending listing it as a dependency or not listing it at all. Just because everything is the inconsistency of it. I think as a mechanism, I think the idea was in the right direction, but it just didn't hit the mark, and it's hard to get everybody to like point in the same direction. So I think in reality, the recommendation is either listed in dependencies or not at all. If you don't list it at all, so it's not in your dependency list at all, in our case, we do want to be able to have it available so that we could, let's look at the package JSON. When we're testing this within this repo, we do want to be able to use it. Dev dependencies aren't installed when you pull in a dependency. So we could put it in dev dependencies. It would work here. And when we would publish, we would basically have the inherent expectation that somebody has read the README, knows how to use it, and has then installed a specific version. But now we're effectively relying on like this API to not change. So I think the question then comes down to, we want the version of the API installed to also match the version of in the environment that's coming from like the cargo side that's being injected. We want those to match. The chance that those get out of sync, I think, is potentially higher than this API changing around a whole ton. So I think, especially in this case, I probably would say what would make sense would be to, I think this can potentially roll through to V2. Like the API surface for this is small to where I suspect what's going to be here is not going to change once V2 publishes. But once V2 publishes, it's probably going to make sense to have, or to check it, to make sure that it's working for V2 stable. But I don't see a reason to actually list it in there. Because if you list it as a dependency, and then you get two versions of it in there, you have potential like issues with that. But then each of those versions is dependent on specific like environment setup. So I think I would say the recommendation is don't put it in dependencies, put it in dev dependencies, add documentation to have the specific version. Does that make sense? Is there anybody else have any reasoning on why alternatives might be better? I think this is going to give us the best. I think this is going to be the best. I guess empty dependency array is fine. And then I don't. See, they also have this as peer dependencies. Some of this stuff, like Tailwind of merge, CLS X. I would almost say compile this. So the expectation is when you are using this library, we've got a whole bunch of stuff open now. Close. Here. If we look at the docs, add the thing, register the plugin. So like they're already telling you to add these plugins. Okay, so PNMP. Okay, so PNMP has you install peer dependencies separate. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they already have it as, except that's out of date. Let us change that real quick. Read me. Where are you? Read. Blind. Read me. Oh, do they have it in the GitHub? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Does this ever read me then too? Okay. Just points to that. I don't hate it. All right, so let's see. So we are doing a cargo add. We're already doing a cargo add there. We don't need the plugin window anymore. We are using API. So we're already asking them to add these. And add these as dev dependencies. So I would say I'm gonna say without formatting because I've got a markdown formatter. I don't want to goof up their formatting because that's not entirely helpful. I say we move all the Tauri stuff out. They're already listing it as something that you need to install separately. And then we've got Tauri apps. ABCs, did I do that right? ACP. Yep. And then plugin OS. So this is, yep. So I'm going to copy these three. So these three packages need to be installed for all of these, and we will go like this. Solid. Like this. Okay, and see like svelte. Does Svelte not have it? Okay, so Svelte had it as an API as a dev dependency. But it doesn't have it as a, yeah, interesting. So it had API in the CLI. Oh, and plugin OS was there. Okay, so so Svelte does not have any dependencies. Right? Interesting. And then view. I'm not sure about this, so I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to just say all of the Tauri stuff. If you depend on it, I think that's probably going to make sense as a recommendation. If you use any Tauri core JavaScript libs, don't list it as a dependency. Put it in the README. Okay, so it does actually say Tauri 2. Okay. Let us double check in this README again. We got slightly distracted there. So the expectation is that you're using this, and you're putting your content here. Okay. And like this might, running it on mobile is definitely going to be a something that's sort of up in the air. It's potentially something you can, when building for mobile, basically compile out. Because I don't know how much like window expectations are going to be in mobile. I haven't dug into that enough personally. Further reading. Figma platform. Okay, so like there's some expectation that we have props that are being set. Okay. I'm not terribly keen. So like a vanilla JS implementation would kind of be nice. I think is kind of what I'm settling on, because but see then like you can have less control over the props, which is unfortunate, or less ability to like push in props. The thing that feels a little bit awkward is, and maybe it's not, for the use cases where this is going to make sense. Like if I'm using Tailwind, cool, you know, fine. If I'm using that, fine. They're clearly using Tailwind here. If my project happens to be using Tailwind, then that's going to be fine. I guess they are. When you run build, okay, so it is doing a Vite build. Prettier post. If we look at where is Vite? Vite config. Okay. Include. So it's specifically just including that. It is doing a build of it. So it should theoretically be tree shaking, and we should be only getting the things in Tailwind that are being used. Which, I guess, do you actually need this stuff then? If it's doing a build, okay, let's run a build when okay, I'm gonna assume that what it's doing is it's running a turbo run build. Okay, so if we build this PNMP run build, let's see what assets it ends up dropping in here. So what I'm specifically curious is, we're sort of still on the topic of dependencies. If it is publishing a build that includes the content that would include like if our dependencies, the peer dependencies say we need Tailwind merge in this, if it has already like packaged them into the thing that we're distributing, we don't actually need those as dependencies, which I think I would prefer. Yeah, so like we're getting the CSS. Okay. But we're not getting okay, so we don't get the full CSS. We still do need we can see that we do still need these peer dependencies because they're being imported. So when we would pull this into our I guess this is all a big blob of TW merge as S. Yeah, it's gonna be really hard to search for. I think it's using it. So we are getting everything pulled in, compiled, but it still has Tailwind merge and CLSX as dependencies. So if you end up using Tauri controls, that's kind of the situation. I wonder if there would be a different way you could do this, where you could have like vanilla JS specifically for these couple components, and then just depend on the user to handle, like you can embed some of the like default specific styles, like OS specific styles, like this needs to be red, so like make it red. Yeah, it's not gonna be easy. I feel like there's something there, but you are getting extra dependencies in there, which you need to have these class packages, which you might actually not use anywhere else in your app other than this. But again, I think as a thing to pull in and just use real quick, depending on the app, if you're making these pieces yourself, great, go for it. You don't need to use this. But it's not a trivial amount of code just to do this. So first pass of an app, I would say use it. Just go for it. And then at some point, when it makes sense to deal with like performance things and really cleaning, tightening things up, swap it out for your own implementation. Are you going to gain much from it though? I mean, if you're trying to get the size of your binary down, it probably would make a difference. How much? Probably not that much. So maybe it's not a big deal. All right, I think I've belabored this enough. We can toss up a PR that fixes this. They have no changes, and they have published v2, so this would probably be a patch. But then we're also changing the dependency the dependency expectation. So maybe it would make sense to do it as a minor bump, because it is technically a breaking change. Yay for technicalities, just like what we were talking about. Is it a breaking change? If everybody has Tauri API installed, moving it out of the dependency array or the list of dependencies, not breaking anybody, but it has the potential to, and you don't know. So, yeah. Okay. Let's give everything one more real quick look. See apps, because we have kind of been distracted by internals and dealing with things not quite working correctly. Actually, I guess I'll do the workspace thing. Where's the workspace command? I want the filtered one, because I don't want rainbow puke again. We're going to give it a real quick peek here. Look at the different components, kind of how it's put together a little bit. All right. So this is the Tauri controls demo app. You can pull this in as a dependency, and this dependency allows you to easily have pre-built OS level Chrome native window controls, native looking window controls. They're actually in the web view though, which allows you to customize the look a little bit and stick in your own title and make your own drop-down menus. So there's definitely trade-offs there. But if you're doing something in your app where the default window decorations don't end up meeting your needs, if you have any type of transparency, this might be a good option. It might make sense to roll your own, because it has some dependencies in here that you might not need. But at least as a first pass, this is more than sufficient. It is probably something that I'm going to pull into at least a couple apps. This is all live right now, so these are actually drag regions, and I can click maximize and minimize on any of these and they work. Pretty cool. And you can see there's quite a fair amount of customization you can do with the look and feel, and then it handles all the OS specific stuff. So like if you hover over the Mac, this is on Windows right now. If you hover over the Mac, you get the Mac icons. It's the same function. Ish. But they are designed to fit the aesthetic that Mac has set up, or the aesthetic that Windows users might expect. Which, if you're removing the default native window decorations, is pretty useful. It's not terribly uncommon for apps to do this either. If you want to fit in with an overall design, and some of the more like built-in expectations with the app, you might actually have these requirements to do this. But if you don't, keeping the native window controls means you have a lot less to deal with. So it's the trade-off, the classic trade-off. Which trade-off do you want to choose? There is a couple apps though where I have window decorations turned off for reasons, and it might make sense for me to pull this in. So, especially if you have, you can have multiple windows, and each window doesn't necessarily need to have the same controls or the same window decorations on or off. So this gives you options, which is pretty nifty. So cool. I think that's about it that we want to do with this, though. There's pretty typical. I don't want to say it's not special, but it's an implementation that I could see. It seems like a reasonable implementation for somebody to write. And the fact that I can come in here and help out and do little fixes, and I don't need to write all of this, is kind of a win for me. And all that's shipping is this Tauri controls. So all the other stuff, the source Tauri, most of this PNMP, post CSS type stuff is not coming along for the ride. And it's just shipping the CSS that it needs. So I dig it. This was a little bit different of a stream than I was expecting to do. Thanks for sticking around, for stopping by. I'm not sure what we'll do next week. I think we're back to sort of normal weekly schedule, and every Tuesday. I'm not sure what we're gonna do next week though. Got some interesting things coming up though. There's things on my mind, and there's things that I would like to do, but we'll see their TBD. Stay tuned. Have a good week, everybody. See you next Tuesday. Bye. Alrighty with the butt. Bye.